my God. That was a hell of an episode. We're talking Star Trek Season 2, Episode 7, Lights and Shadows. I'm so excited about this episode. I was so into it that guess what? You get to see me for a little bit. But only for a little bit. You know why? Because I'm kind of tech stupid and I can't really figure out how it is to keep my little box camera there when I move on to another scene. So if anybody can figure that out for me, let me know. I'm using the OBS freeware, which is actually really awesome. I really like it. But when I put the little thing for video capture onto the next slide, it just doesn't show up. So I just came here to say hello, guys. What's up? Live long and prosper. And that this episode was a hell of an episode. Lights and Shadows. There's so much to talk about here in this episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Please like and subscribe, if you will, and watch for more of these mini vlogs, whatever, podcasts, whatever you want to call these things. I don't care. Just watch them because I enjoy doing them. I'm having a hell of a time. And I'm having a hell of a time watching Discovery. So I'm probably going to say bye-bye now because I'm going to switch to the next slide, which will be in Vulcan. We are there in Vulcan. And I love this scene. You know, one thing that really gets me excited when I watch Star Trek Discovery is how we can see some reimaginings of old worlds. Vulcan's always been a planet that's interested me a lot. Obviously, probably not just me. Anybody that's a Trekkie is really fascinated by the planet of Vulcan. That's where Spock is from. And we never really get to see a very cool representation of it due to budget constraints, obviously, in the original series. But even through TNG, I think they visited Vulcan in TNG. Did they? Maybe they never did. They definitely went to Romulus. But I can't think of a time when they went to Vulcan. But anyway, even in the JJ movies, it just seems like the whole planet is like Nevada, right? And really boring. Just these red rocks. I mean, very beautiful. And I guess for people that are just focused on logic, I mean, they wouldn't need a lot of extra stuff. But I loved this because they showed a little bit of the more tech side. Because obviously the Vulcans are a very technologically advanced race. And they showed some of the forest there, the far side, when Michael Burnham reaches her parents' house. And that's where the episode begins, with Michael asking to have some shore leave so she can go talk to her mother, because for whatever reason she feels that her mother wouldn't be so honest about what's going on with Spock. Which kind of took me for a loop. I guess they planted those seeds in the episode where Michael and her mom were chatting it up on the Discovery. I think that was episode 3 though, and I mostly fell asleep through that episode. That was hard to get through, man. So yeah, I just didn't feel like there was a build up to her saying something like that about her mother. Like, okay, Sarek, I know, would tell us any information on Spock. My mother, not so much. Pike gives her shore leave, and there she is, her little shuttle landing on Vulcan. But it was just really cool to see those scenes. And when she gets there, yes, she and her mother have some conversations, tough conversations. And she confronts her mother and says, hey, you never lied to me before. Which is why I know you're lying now. You know exactly where Spock is, and you ain't saying anything. And Amanda, she's hardcore, man. She's protecting her son. And we do find out that Spock is on the planet. So finally, after all this time, us fans of Discovery get what we've been waiting for. Which is what? We've been waiting to see Spock, man. Spock in action. He wasn't very much in action because his brain is fried. But he was there. And we see him right there. Ha ha, hipster Spock with the beard and the shaggy hair, but he's got the ears going. And it's not the first time we've seen Spock with the shaggy hair. I don't recall. Oh, obviously, Mirror Universe, Spock had the goatee. What I was going to say is that I don't recall ever seeing Leonard Nimoy with a beard in his regular portrayals of Spock, even when Spock went off the deep end a little bit in well, at the beginning of the motion picture, he was coming from quite a wild excursion, and in Star Trek 4, because he had just been rebirthed, he was a little bit out there, right? But this is the first time, full-on beard, hipster Spock, and you know what? I dug him, even though he didn't do too much this episode, except for reciting a bunch of numbers, which will become important. We'll see in a little bit. And oh my god, this episode just opened up a can of motherfucking worms. And yes, I'm going to curse this video because I am that excited about it, about this episode. And if you hear a chair creaking, it's because it's a chair creaking. For whatever reason, this microphone got ultra sensitive the last couple times I've been doing these vlogcast. I don't know what the fuck you call these. And you get to hear my chair, guys. I'm trying to be as motionless as possible. So they find him there, and what happens is that Sarek kind of got pissed off at his wife because she was hiding Spock, and he was trying to communicate with him telepathically, and she put him in a place that kind of blocks whatever mental rays, whatever that's about. It blocks whatever mental signals Sarek was trying to send to Spock. So that was a perfect hiding spot, and she was also harboring a fugitive. So Sarek ain't having it, and Sarek shows a little bit of his emotional side where he says, I don't want to lose two of my kids, because he tells Michael, yo, you take your brother Section 31, because they're after him, and we got to trust him. So he not only, excuse me, but hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Not only is Sarek being I thought he was being a little bit emotional in that scene, but he was also being a bit naive to trust Section 31. Even though we're seeing that Section 31, apparently, in this version of Trek, and I'm not saying that to say that Star Trek Discovery is not part of the Prime universe. It's not canon. Come on. I'm not even getting into those conversations. I'm saying this version, as far as where they are in the timeline of what Section 31 is, appears to be operating more in a Black Ops type of scenario, and not a we disappeared completely from the face of, all records. We'll see how it gets there to that point. But it's definitely not there right now. So we'll get back to Spock, because something, I just said he gets sent to Section 31, and we'll see what happens to him over there. But while there's the Amanda and Michael moments, on the Starship Discovery, we get some Pike and Ash moments. And I actually liked Ash a little bit this episode. He's not my favorite character at all. And actually, I know quite a few people who don't enjoy him because he feels a little too emo, I guess. Who knows? He's just not my type of dude. Pike, on the other hand, he's the fucking man. Oh, man, I'm cursing too much. I said I'd curse a little, but I don't want to go overboard. So there we go. We got Mr. Ash with his black badge. We got Pike walking down the hallway. Michael Burnham's off the ship at the moment. And they end up hitting a time anomaly in space. They're still near the planet of the Kelpians, because they just want to make sure everything's cool. And I think they were reading analyzing some data to try to figure out when the Red Angel's going to show up again. And then they get hit with this time bomb. Boom! There it is. Classic Star Trek spatial anomaly. In this case, it creates a little bit of a time shift. Real cool scene, where I was gonna say Picard, where Pike. Every week I get Pike's name wrong. Either he's Spike because it's Spock and Pike, or now he's Picard. But anyway, Pike comes out and he's like, "Show it to me. What am I looking at?" That's been his famous line to this point. And he's up by the view screen, and then you look back and he's still in his chair. And so we see that time is kind of looping and it's all screwed up. I love this. Star Trek has played with time so much. So it's a weird thing in Star Trek because we don't think of Star Trek as a time travel show. That's Doctor Who, which I'm a huge fan of. Quantum Leap, Sliders. There's a lot of great, Time Machine. I'm sorry, the Time Tunnel. There's a lot of really great time traveling sci-fi shows. In Star Trek, is not really. I mean, that's not supposed to be their bread and butter yet. Throughout Star Trek, we get time travel again and again and again and again. We have 2 major movies that deal with time travel. Star Trek 4 and Star Trek First Contact. It's Star Trek 2009, not really time travel, but interdimensional travel. But okay. So, time travel is a theme that runs very heavy in Trek. Voyager is super heavy on time travel, especially if you watch Endgame. You'll see that plays in heavy. In case you haven't seen it, 20 years later, whatever. No spoilers for me for the end of Voyager. So, not shocking that Star Trek Discovery is screwing with time. But it always feels like a cheat in a little way. I have this little voice in the back of my head saying, "Man, but come on, stick to like the stuff we sort of understand, believable science stuff for the sci-fi of Star Trek." But time keeps coming up, and I prefer time to the mycelial network. I can't wait till they figure out a way to say, "Hey, this mycelial stuff is just not working. It's not cool, and we got rid of it," as far as why it doesn't show up in later Trek. But here we go. Pike decides to go out with Ash to investigate because Pike says he's the most qualified to do so. And while they're out there, they send out a probe. Right? They get close enough to send out a probe, but then they get sucked into this little time rift, whatever. And while they're in there, man, a lot of crazy stuff happens. And the craziest thing that happens is that the probe that they sent out comes back. And this is very much a great homage, at least for me, it was an homage to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was a really cool effect where this probe comes back from 500 years in the future and starts probing the shuttle. And not only does it start probing the shuttle, it tries to kill them. It slips inside the shuttle, grabs Ash by the throat. Man, heart-thumping scenes. Say what you will about Star Trek. I know we got some haters, but I think the haters are way less than the people that are fans of the show. They're just more vocal about it. But say what you will, but about Star Trek Discovery, but you can't take away the fact that these guys know how to put together a very well done action sequence. I know Star Trek's not about the action, it's about the philosophy, but it is also about the action, Star Trek TOS, man. We got the Gorn versus Kirk. I mean, it was slow motion action back in the day in a lot of styrofoam. But, really, I think so many people grew up and got into Trek because of TNG. And TNG is so much closer to, like, Gene's vision of Trek, where it's just about talking it out and everybody's friendly and everybody's, the captain doesn't leave the ship because he's very important. And I love TNG. It's, in my heart. But Trek is also adventure. It's very much action oriented in a lot of ways. And so when you get Voyager, when you get the whole Dominion War and DS9, these are shows that are much more action based. I like it when Trek balances the two. Those are my favorite types of Trek. And so far, Discoveries definitely hit it with the action. And they're doing a lot better of getting with the philosophy side this season. And inside the Discovery, they're trying to figure out where in time, more, not really where Pike and Ash's shuttle have gone, but when Pike and Ash's shuttle has gone. And we got a lot of techno babble. If you understood what the hell they were saying, congratulations, you rock. I had no clue what was going on. I mean, I didn't not have a clue, but I don't know what the hell technically they were going on about it. But we get the idea. They're going to try to find the ship using the mycelial network because Stamets is kind of immune to these time things, which we learned way back in the Mud episode, which Saru mentions, right, to Tilly. He said, we got one guy on the ship who seems to be kind of immune to these time shifts, and that guy is called Stamets. So let's see if he can try to find our captain and that buddy that's with him named Ash. Meanwhile, inside the shuttle, though, shit's going to hell. Pike does a little phaser shot inside the shuttle, which was kind of intense, and kind of kills, I guess, I don't know, disables the probe that was strangling Ash to death. And that was a cool scene because while they were in the shuttle, right towards the beginning when they were having the time shifts, Pike looked behind him and he saw himself shooting Ash. And the whole episode, there's this tension between the two of them. So obviously you think, oh man, what's going to happen? And it was cool that was the scene. It was him shooting, but not shooting Ash, trying to shoot the thing that was trying to kill Ash. But the thing breaks up and jumps onto the computer system of the shuttlecraft and starts downloading data. And they're like, oh shit, yellow alert, because they're getting all the ship's data. And that could be problematic. Yes. And we'll get back over here in a minute. But we got to find out what's going on with our boy Spock, right? Because Spock, he is going into the Section 31 ship. And as we see there, he made it. Sarek convinced Michael to take him there. And they claim that everything's going to be all right. We're just going to try to get some information out of the brother. We're going to treat him okay. Michael, don't worry. Actually, if you want to take a little ship over to a space dock or a space station to chill, because that's where we're going, to examine him better, that'll be better for you. Leland gives her all this information. Except that Georgiou, she catches her down the hallway, says, yo, they're not going to do any of this stuff. They're going to get this memory. They're going to extract his memories using this device, and it's going to turn his brain to jelly. Your brother is going to be no more Spock. And she tells Michael, I know more about you than you think. And she doesn't explain exactly why. And because Michael doesn't really trust her. He's like, well, how do I know you're telling me the truth? And she's like, just trust me. In fact, hit me. Make it look like we're having a fight, and then you go and rescue your brother. Now, the fight scene was cool. I loved it. And Michael does go. She steals her phaser and goes hunt her brother down. One thing about this, though, I'm going to sound like those real nitpicky people. But hey, constructive criticism. I don't know how the hell she was able to get off the ship. I mean, it's a heavily guarded ship. you'd think that they'd have ways to lock out people trying to steal a shuttlecraft, and they know that Michael has just gotten her brother because Georgiou was only able to disable the cameras and all that jazz for like 60 seconds, I think she said. So, yeah, I mean, they know where Michael is headed. They know who she's got. The fact that she was able to get off the ship so easily, I thought, was a little unbelievable. But hey, worse things have happened in Star Trek. But that's what goes down. But then Georgiou, she goes up to Leland and says, yo, I know your skeletons. And she brings up the fact that she knows that Leland was the one that was responsible for Michael's parents' death. So she's playing this card against him, like, because he suspects that, Georgiou helped Michael get off the ship and capture her brother. And Georgiou just is like, yo, who's running the show here? I'm running the show. Okay? So I like that interplay. And it kind of leads to a fan theory I read this week about how somehow Georgiou takes over Section 31 and she takes it so far out there to places where it shouldn't be that it eventually goes from Black Ops land to, hey, this place never existed land. So we shall see. I'm excited for the Section 31 show that is going to come to CBS All Access soon. And maybe we'll get some of those answers, some of those questions answered. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh, she's killing it in this show. Definitely one of the favorites among the fans. Even those that aren't huge fans of Discovery, they love her character because she's just a badass. Sometimes I think they write her too much of a badass just because, it's cool. Look, it's Georgiou saying like a bunch of badass lines, quote unquote. It comes off a little cheesy every once in a while. I'm not going to lie. But this was not one of those episodes. This was one of those episodes where I thought she felt very real, still very evil and very conniving, but realistically evil and conniving. Sometimes it comes off as a bit of a caricature, like, I love being bad so much, it's like, come on. But anyway, we got to get back to the Starship Discovery, okay? Because something really freaky happens in the Starship Discovery. And what is it? While they are on the ship or the shuttlecraft, getting off that shuttlecraft and trying to disable this probe from getting all of Discovery's information, somehow the probe is able to get onto the Discovery. Whatever they were doing, disrupting the computer on the shuttlecraft, it managed to transfer over to the Discovery. And then you get these weird-ass little flashing lights, data breach, 3 red lights, as you can see there on the picture on the right side. And Commander Airiam, which I believe that's how you say her name, kind of gets transfixed by these lights, and you can see her eyes light up. And she can't even hear Saru. Saru's like, Airiam, is everything cool? Is everything okay? Like, did we get the probe? Are the people back? Is Pike and Ash and everybody back on the ship? And she's transfixed. And then she snaps out of it. Her eyes go back to normal color. And we're like, uh-oh. This is like the one character we haven't spent that much time with. A lot of people asking, what's the deal with this character? And, well, there you go. She might turn out to be a really dangerous character in a little bit if this is a malevolent force. We shall see. And it's kind of weird, guys. I watched an episode of The Orville for the first time. It was last week's episode where their robot character... spoilers for The Orville, in case you've never watched it. I was thinking about doing a whole video on my experience watching the Orville. I might. It was a wacky show. But anyway, but I do want to find out what happens because it was a cliffhanger. So I might be watching that as soon as I'm done recording this, which is going to be a bit of a long podcast today. But their robot ends up, the one that they've had on their ship since season 1 up to, I guess they're on around the same episode as Discovery now, ends up, he was only on their ship studying the humans so that he could find this way to go back to his own race and take over the human race. He ends up he's a bad guy. At least so far, unless there's some twist at the end there of tonight's episode. Kind of cool though for those that like both Discovery and the Orville, and I know there's some of you out there. It is kind of cool that you do get double shot sci-fi on a Thursday night. I will say that it is kind of cool, and I didn't hate the Orville. I'll go deeper into it in an Orville podcast a little bit later. But I just thought it was funny that they both, both series have wacky robot storyline. And some people that are fans of the Orville, I noticed they had put some posts up in Trek groups where they're like, "Oh my God, are they stealing from each other's scripts?" Because they seem very similar. But I don't know. I have never watched any other episode. This is the first one. So that's a weird little revelation there. Whatever. A little happening. But not as crazy as when Michael is on the ship with Spock. And way back, talking about time travel, let's flash back to the start of the episode when Spock was inside of that cave or wherever, he was, back here. He was mumbling a lot. He was mumbling a series of numbers. And he was writing them on the wall. And one revelation we get about Spock is that apparently he has like the Vulcan form of dyslexia. So Michael, because, Michael's very smart, she figures out that, hey, maybe he's saying these numbers backwards. So she puts the numbers into the little ship that she ran away from the Section 31 ship from. And when the computer finds out what these coordinates are, it's Talos. Talos 4. Oh my freaking Lord. And in case you don't know who lives there, it's the Talosians. Okay? For me, my favorite Trek aliens, one of my favorites, I think, of the one-off Trek aliens, the ones that freaked me out as a kid, really did, with those big-ass heads. And as you can see, there's the reimagining, which is really cool. Man, why couldn't they do that with the Klingons? It would have just so much controversy, just so much less controversy to have. Just reimagine them. Keep similar look, a little bit more updated. I love this. I love how they did the Andorians, obviously the Vulcans. Oh, not much that you really need to update with the Vulcans. But I love how they've done it with all the other alien species. I don't know why they felt they needed to go so out there with the Klingons. But anyway, it's another topic. So these freaky little guys are going to show up in the next episode. Apparently, Michael's taking her brother to the planet. And from what we saw in the preview, she's going to try to get them to show her what he sees. And we're coming around the bend, guys. Is it mid-season finale time? Maybe next episode is mid-season? Or are they going to have a break like they did last year? I don't know. I kind of want them to just run straight through. But we're getting towards the end. And things are going to be revealed. Like the fact, and I should have said this at the beginning, sorry. they've kind of really just made it clear that the Red Angel is definitely from the future. It's definitely using some sort of suit, so it's humanoid, not some spiritual creature, not some alien that looks like a Red Angel, but something inside of a suit. Who could it be? That's the big question. I mean, I've seen some theories that it's Michael from the future, which I think would be terrible. I don't dig that theory. We got Pike from the future because Pike gets screwed up after he's not after his meeting with the Talosians, sorry. Um, but later on, in about 10 years, he's going to be really screwed up due to an accident. Could it be Pike? Did he find out some way to get back to Talos and then time travel? I don't know. There was a theory that it was Spock, but I think that one's kind of got squashed. I was playing around today in some of the Trek groups and said it was Janeway because she traveled a lot through time. Maybe it's her from the Delta Quadrant. Who knows? But it's definitely going to be one of those reveals that I don't think is going to satisfy everybody. You just can't, right? When you build the big mystery, it's almost impossible to have a satisfying conclusion to that mystery. So they kind of written themselves into a hole there. I don't think everybody's going to be cheering when they find out who the Red Angel is. But what they are setting up a lot, which goes into some of the showrunners' talks and some of the things that they've said before in past interviews, is that somehow they said we're quite aware of things on this show that don't seem to match up with canon. We are going in a direction that's gonna make everything fit into place. Who knows if all this time traveling, interdimensional stuff somehow fits into why it is Star Trek looks like Star Trek from the 60s versus what Star Trek Discovery looks like now and some of the technology that they have. Look, I'm not so worried about because you gotta update. It's 2019, guys. I mean, do we want Talosians that look like that in 2018? I don't think so. They look dated, right? So that's it. Look at that. I talked for 32 minutes. You got to see a little bit of my face at the start. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me see. I might go back over here just so you can see me. I'm still here, guys. Okay. That was an awesome episode of Star Trek Discovery. Season 2 has been really good. For some people, even better than the first. Definitely, it's one that I will probably want to rewatch after I'm finished. Season 1, not so much. As much as I enjoyed it, I really did enjoy Season 1. And I'm so excited for Season 3. So for all of those that have been, the pessimistic ones that have been saying, oh, Star Trek Discovery is not a hit, Star Trek Discovery is about to get canceled, I'm telling you, they're changing this, they're changing the showrunner, they're changing producers, it's a sinking ship. Man, what y'all smoking? This show's a hit. You may not like it. It may not be your favorite Star Trek out there, but it's definitely a hit. I mean, it's pretty critically acclaimed. It won those Saturn Awards last year, which I don't think did Star Trek ever win those? For best this and best that, whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's a show that it's doing well, guys. I mean, whether you like it or not, it trends on Twitter when it comes out. There's no way of knowing how many viewers it has, but it's definitely up in the millions, and I very much doubt that CBS would... Well, I doubt CBS would have given it a second season if the first season wasn't a hit, because it's an expensive show to produce. It looks fucking beautiful. And I very, very much doubt that they would have had a third season, that CBS would have said, yeah, let's throw a lot of money on this failing show of ours, if it wasn't making money for them. So there you go. For you guys that just love to hate on the show, I like constructive criticism. I think that's good. I like people that I think uh, they made some changes to season two based on a lot of people's harsh criticisms. But you know very well that there's those that are just haters that are just like, oh, this ain't Star Trek. This is and it's like, don't watch it. Or actually, as a matter of fact, watch it because it's probably some of your viewership dollars that, or whatever. If you're viewing it on Netflix or if you're just tweeting about it on Twitter, it's a lot of you guys that are keeping the show, probably keeping the show on the air too. So that's it. But there you go. Live long and prosper. You guys rock. I always love doing these. Some of these get more views than others. I can't figure that out. But if you're watching, if you tune in every week just to hear me talk, that's awesome because who am I, right? So thank you and live long and prosper, man. Until next time, until next week. I can't wait to see where this all leads.